as I said, traditions handed down for thousands of years. And the culture, as you know, is brought so that grandma takes care of the baby and the baby ages, then they take care of grandma. We need to remember that. So Ayurveda is a lot about living with nature, the patterns of nature. Dr. Bhattacharya talked about this. So look at the disparity between these two pictures. So this is Vermont, where I live. Colors. I'm lucky to live there. Not all of you can live there. It's hard to make a living in Vermont, so I know why you're all here if you live in New York. I lived here too at one point. But look at the colors. Look at the difference. The New York scene is gray. It's devoid of prana. There's all the prana in the Vermont scene. So how do we get back to what that nature brings us? That we understand the cycles. You know, that in Vermont, when the leaves change, we know that it's autumn. How do you know that in New York City? How do you know that you should be eating different foods? We need to get back in touch with nature. The cycles of the days, the whole year. So I want to talk about a case study. And this case study is very interesting. It's very, very simple. This woman came to me, and I'll explain later, but it's a very simple way of looking at diet and lifestyle because she had no other choice. She came to me, and she was in a really, really bad place. She was in a panic. She is 44 and of female origin, of Indian origin, 44 years old. She has thalassemia, which is a blood condition that a lot of Indians have, but we haven't spoken about that today. That gives her a tendency towards anemia. She has a family history of type 2 diabetes, her grandmother and her father. Her blood pressure had peaked to 190 over 102. So she's in a bad place. Excessive menstrual bleeding, she was having periods of over 10 days, and debilitating. Complete fatigue, complete anemia, and you hear this a lot. She's overweight, extremely overweight, high stress level, extreme fatigue. Couldn't get out of bed in the morning and just wanted to get right back in, and she did. She did get out. Okay, next slide. So the first thing, these are my recommendations to her. See your MD, please. I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be. This is an emergency, okay? You know, let's not mess around with this. I didn't want her to die the next day. I have lots of things you can do, but you need to see your MD. Well, I gave her all the recommendations and found out later that she didn't have health insurance and had no plans to go to a doctor. So she didn't go to a doctor, but she did everything that I asked her to do, luckily. So I told her to exercise in the morning with nasal breathing. So if we exercise in the morning, this is the best time to burn fat. Our body is in a heavy place in the morning, and we need to get it motivated with exercise, okay? And nasal breathing really brings down the stress level, and we can talk about that a little bit more later. So I asked her to do that. Get your body burning fat. It's going to burn fat for the rest of the day if you exercise in the morning. So I told her to just do 20 minutes of light walking because I was worried about her blood pressure, obviously. Don't go out running. Don't start, doing weights. The next thing I told her is to eat her main meal between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So this is old-fashioned, right? This is what everyone used to do, eat their main meal in the middle of the day, and then you take a nice nap and you relax. We don't make time for this. We can still do this at work. We just need to make time for it. And it's mindful eating, and it's your main protein, it's your main meal of the day. The idea is that this is the time where our digestive fire is the strongest, so we can assimilate and absorb our food the best. This is a great way to lose weight. We have a light meal in the morning, main meal in the middle of the day, light in the evening. One other thing that hasn't been talked about with the Indian diet is excessive pungent foods. I'm all for spices. Spices are amazing. We have to be careful of the mustard oil and the red pepper and the excessive heat in our food, because that raises the blood pressure. That's back to the pitta, the fire in our body. So I had this client change to using black pepper and laying off the pickle, you know, the chars, and to get using a nice masala that has the turmeric, the cumin, the coriander, all the cooling anti-inflammatory spices, and laying down the pungent foods. And in that strain, also taking aloe juice twice a day. So as you notice, I didn't give her any herbs because I didn't want to mess with anything, because I thought she would be having the MD give her a prescription drug. So this is a very interesting case because I didn't even use herbs. Okay, aloe juice is a food. It's very cooling and cleansing, so I thought that would help clear things. And I also asked her to eat raspberries and raspberry leaf tea, which is really good for the menstrual cycle and cooling and calming for the body. And then I added Nadi Shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing, and yoga practice to balance the heat and cool in her body. So her results were within a month, even 2 weeks, her blood pressure was reduced to 132/84. She lost 20 pounds in a month. That weight she just wanted to come off her. And her menstrual cycle to this day is normalized. She was, coming to her menopause and has gracefully moved through that without any problems. And her energy level and productivity has increased greatly. She's feeling great. Feeling really great. So another big part of what I do besides the diet and lifestyle is Ayurvedic body work, which we haven't spoken of today. So I touched on the oil massage. Oil is a huge, huge part of Ayurveda. And why we use oil externally is to calm the nervous system. And this is incredibly important for Indians that are living in this country because we're bombarded with stimulus. Our nervous systems are completely bombarded. And we're also living in a climate that is not necessarily what our bodies would expect. So living in Vermont in February is probably not what my father's body was used to. So if we coat ourselves with oil, it completely gives your body a really nice blanket, a protective coating from the external world and from the colds and changes in temperature. So this is a Shirodhara. You can actually change the slide. And this is the spa that I work in, just a couple enticing slides to show how we can involve ourselves in a deep relaxation and also in enjoying Ayurvedic body work and an immersion in Ayurveda. And this is the spa at Stowe Lake in Stowe, Vermont. And this is our walking labyrinth. So you can see that, we can create this whole letting go of our day-to-day. And we come to a spa, we can also bring a little bit of the spa home to us. Okay, so I'm telling you about these body treatments that I do, but you can also bring this to yourself every day. So this is a Pinda Swedana treatment that I learned in India. I do this in Stowe at the spa. I've changed a little bit because I don't have the fresh herbs available in Stowe that I did in India. This treatment is particularly for arthritis and fibromyalgia, a lot of pain management. In India, the mixture was castor leaves and